Good morning, it's James. I do hope and pray this message finds you and your loved ones peaceful, thriving, and well. I think this morning is going to be a lot of fun for every single one of us who, when asked whether or not they would consider themselves a spiritual person, there's a very high likelihood, let's leave it that way, a very high likelihood the majority of us would say, yeah, I'm a spiritual person. And I want to share with you something because I think there's all kinds of beautiful definitions and yes, very deeply personal ways that we see our spirituality and we describe our spirituality. But we want to share some really fascinating and hopefully inspiring research that comes out of UCLA on what it means to be spiritual in relationship to research. So here's what they say. They say, they being UCLA, that a study on being spiritual meant that anything that brings you closer to your peace, closer to your truth, and living your truth, your essence, and when doing that, you have a greater expression of likelihood of love, purpose, and open vulnerability. Love that. That is how they define being spiritual. Now, you may be asking, going, so why were they trying to define spirituality? Well, it was really interesting. A bunch of researchers at UCLA were trying to figure out what was it about people who had that sort of inclination, that vision and mission for their lives, and how they connected it to being spiritual, and what it did for them physiologically. So did it make a difference in terms of their health and well-being? Well, here's what the research said. It actually impacted longevity. It impacted the likelihood of success in business and relationships. Their happiness was higher, and they had lower disease rates, as well as an increase in the community impact that they were a part of. Just their presence made sure that it augmented the community impact. So the way they showed up elevated people around them. If there was any sort of intention around the community, a level of service, something they were doing in volunteering, guess what? If you were a spiritual person, you gave yourself the opportunity to raise the entire community and have greater impact for the best in that community. So what I love about that study is that it helps us to maybe potentially feel that much more inspired about how we see our connection to being spiritual, our desire to continually do the work of being spiritual. And I love this because it goes back to a word that we spoke to, maybe 7-8 years ago when we first began this experience. And it was all about the word eudaimonia, which is a word by Aristotle. He coined this word. I think it's eudaimonia. And eudemonia is simply a state of human flourishing. And what Aristotle believed, it was the highest vision for a human being. If we were going to kind of shoot for anything in our life, that was going to be the way we'd love to live. This was human flourishing at its best. And then you connect this back to what the Mayo Clinic has done. The Mayo Clinic says when you are living in a state of eudaimonia, which is deeply spiritual, according to UCLA, there is this level of anti-inflammatory living where mentally, emotionally, physiologically, every part of our being tends to thrive. We tend to live longer and stronger. And yes, combining it with this research, our impact in the world is going to be greater. The way that people see us will raise them because of the way that we are showing up. It's a beautiful time to lean into your spirituality. And whatever your practice is, whatever it is that you define it deep and personal for yourself, please know that it makes a difference. It makes a difference inside. And according to this beautiful research, and I think we knew this all along, right? It makes a difference to everyone who has the blessing of laying eyes on you. When you are in that state of eudaimonia, when you are in that experience of bringing you closer to your peace, living up to your truth, and expressing your essence with love, purpose, and deep and open vulnerability. What a beautiful time to continue on the spiritual path. Thank you for showing up the way you do and being who you are. I see you, we see you, and we love you. Peace and blessings. Bye for now.